Li Yao looked at his tactical communications watch. His wife sent him the exact coordinates on the map. HM? He's already inside the island? Li Yao wasn't shocked but happy. If that location didn't move at all, Li Yao would suspect that Luo Feng left his tactical communications watch there. And now the location has moved. This means that Luo Feng has been wearing his tactical communications watch. I'll heal first. With my body's recovery rate, I'll be fine in 2 days. I'll be able to stabilize it in half a day. Li Yao couldn't care less about chasing after Luo Feng. He sat cross-legged on the beach and healed. Mist pervaded the air. On the island. That's weird. Luo Feng, who was fully armed, carefully moved forward in the forest of the island. As he looked at the surrounding trees, he became more and more confused. I'm already 2 to 3 miles into the island, but I still haven't seen any traces of monsters. Looks like there really aren't any monsters on this island. The only weird thing is, it's the end of winter on the continent of Australia, but the temperature on this island is quite high. The trees and flowers are as lush as during spring and summer. Luo Feng was very confused. Just what secrets does this island hold? The trees were lush, the flowers were bright, and the thorns were everywhere. It seemed to be full of life. However, there were no living things. Luo Feng carefully moved forward step by step. Around 100 meters away from Luo Feng, there was a pink flower in the middle of the flowers. This flower was even bigger than a wash basin and much brighter than the other flowers around it. At this time, Luo Feng was walking towards the flower step by step. He was getting closer and closer. Finally, Luo Feng arrived. Such a bright flower. It's rare to see such a bright flower at the end of winter on the continent of Australia. Luo Feng looked at it for a bit and continued walking. Just as Luo Feng took 2 steps, whoosh, the pink flower that was originally bigger than a wash basin suddenly expanded and bloomed to a diameter of 3 to 4 meters. This gigantic flower was like lightning as it shot towards Luo Feng. It was like a cover that fell from the sky and directly enveloped Luo Feng. It wanted to swallow Luo Feng whole. Ever since he entered the misty island, Luo Feng didn't relax at all and maintained an extremely careful state. Luo Feng's eyes flashed coldly. Shio. 3 black flowing lights instantly shot from Luo Feng's side towards the gigantic flower. Each throwing knife contained a terrifyingly powerful piercing power. Like 3 rays of death, they instantly pierced through the gigantic pink flower that enveloped Luo Feng. The 3 knife lights spun a few times and the flower was instantly cut into pieces, scattering everywhere. A flying dagger directly cut through the extended blood-red roots of the huge flower. It was like cutting through a steel bar, cutting through the roots. Man-eating flower? Luo Feng turned his head to look at the flower pieces on the ground, and then at the broken stem. Gulp, the stem's broken section was still dripping blood. It was extremely peculiar. There are very few mutated man-eating flowers. The most abundant man-eating flowers in the world are in the South American Amazon. Luo Feng frowned in confusion. Why would a man-eating flower appear on this island? The Grand Nirvana period's mutation was actually the mutation of animals. Man is a kind of animal. Large amounts of monsters were born, and powerful human fighters were born. However, the plants didn't mutate. The trees were still trees and the flowers and grass were still flowers and grass. Only one type of flower mutated, the man-eating flower. There were originally several types of man-eating flowers, but after the mutation, there were dozens of types. Because the other plants didn't mutate, only the man-eating flower mutated. So many scientists loudly declared that the man-eating flower was a special form of animal. Weird, a man-eating flower actually appeared here. Luo Feng shook his head and continued forward. Indeed, this man-eating flower posed no threat to a powerful spirit reader like him. After experiencing the man-eating flower's attack, Luo Feng became even more careful. He moved forward extremely slowly, but this slowness was only relative. It was still much faster than a normal person walking. Half an hour later. Willow tree. Luo Feng looked at the willow tree in the distance and couldn't help but to let out a smile. Most of the trees on this island were rare, and Luo Feng was all too familiar with willow trees. Many places in Yangzhou City used willow trees for greenery, so Luo Feng had a good impression of willow trees. Perhaps because no one has been here for a long time, the willow trees here grew extremely tall and thick. 1, 2, 3, 4. A total of 9. 9 willow trees. What thick willow trees? Luo Feng walked over. The 9 willow trees in front of him were indeed extremely thick. The thinnest willow tree had a diameter of around 1 meter, and the thickest willow tree had a diameter of 3 meters. It's usually hard to even see a single willow tree of this size. Because the plants on this island were very lush, the thousands of branches of these 9 willow trees swayed with the wind. 9 super willow trees. Such a thick willow tree, each of them had hundreds of millions of branches dancing in the air. This island sure is amazing to be able to grow such thick willow trees. And the plants here aren't just willow trees. The other plants seem to be full of life. Even at the end of winter they can grow leaves. Luo Feng sighed. When Luo Feng was sighing beside the 9 huge willow trees, almost in an instant, all the branches of these willow trees crazily danced and swiftly wrapped around Luo Feng like threads. Their speed far surpassed the speed of sound. Even Luo Feng at such a close distance wouldn't be able to dodge the countless branches that covered the sky. What's this? Luo Feng's expression changed greatly. Keep in mind that even the thinnest willow tree reached a height of 30 to 40 meters, comparable to a 10-story building. As for the thickest willow tree with a diameter of 3 meters, It reached a height of nearly 100 meters. Such a tall and terrifying willow tree also had an unimaginable number of willow branches. Each willow branch was more than 100 meters long. As it spread, it covered the sky and covered the earth. Break! Luo Feng ferociously charged forward. At the same time, the 6 throwing knives on the surface of his body were like wind and fire wheels. They revolved around his body and crazily cut the surrounding willow branches. Luo Feng's throwing knives can kill quite a few advanced level Wargods. Under this level of attack, the willow branches were swiftly cut apart. However, when they were cut apart they felt like they were cutting steel bars. According to Luo Feng's spiritual forces feeling towards the throwing knives, the toughness of each willow branch could probably block the blade of an advanced level warlord fighter. At this level, even a guided missile would have a hard time destroying them. Of course. Under Luo Feng's charge, the throwing knives revolved and swiftly cut large amounts of willow branches in half. Luo Feng was about to charge out. Boom! The thickest willow tree king in the center, which had a diameter of 3 meters, actually shot out willow branches that glowed with a light golden color. There were so many of them, close to 10,000 of them. Each willow branch was several hundred meters long. They practically instantly enveloped Luo Feng and directly clashed with Luo Feng's throwing knives. Shishi! The revolving throwing knives cut apart a light golden willow branch with difficulty. Not good. Luo Feng's expression changed greatly. Retreat. He swiftly retreated and dodged the light golden willow branches that enveloped him. It's already so hard for me to cut apart a light golden willow branch. Once I'm surrounded by these tens of thousands of light golden willow branches, I'll be in danger. Even though he can still control his throwing knives to cut apart the willow branches, he can't take the risk. After all, if he fails he dies. Facing the dancing light golden willow branches that surrounded him, Luo Feng ferociously stabbed into the ground as he retreated. Bio! The 3 throwing knives revolved and instantly pierced through the ground, and Luo Feng directly stabbed in. His spiritual force was used on his feet, causing his entire body to be like a diamond machine as he swiftly pierced into the ground. Shishi! A large amount of light golden willow branches swiftly pierced into the ground. However, the light golden willow branches that were only a few hundred meters long couldn't penetrate too deep into the ground. And the main attack power of the willow branches was to bind people to death. The branches were forked, so their ability to drill into the ground couldn't compare to Luo Feng's throwing knives. After the light golden willow branches danced in the air, they returned to the branch of the super willow tree king. The other normal willow branches continued to dance in the wind as usual. Deep underground, in the rock layer, Luo Feng blasted out a small cave here. Luo Feng was dirty, leaning against the rock behind him. Drip drip. The water in the rock layer continued to drip. How pathetic. Luo Feng laughed at himself. Now I know why there aren't any flying monsters or beasts living on this fog island. Luo Feng recalled the scene just now and was still amazed. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Even the willow tree can attack. If this news gets out, the entire world will be shocked. The plants on Earth had never mutated, except for the man-eating flower. But, on this misty island, Luo Feng wasn't too surprised when he found the man-eating flower, but when the willow tree attacked him, he was stunned. Especially that willow tree king. Even normal advanced level Wargods aren't its opponent. If the willow tree can attack, then I'm afraid that many of the plants on the island are also aggressive. If a monster dares to come, it would have been killed by these plants a long time ago. Luo Feng was shocked to himself. The continent of Australia had never been inhabited since the Grand Nirvana period. This was a paradise for monsters. The monsters probably already knew that this fog isle was special, so none of them dared to enter. Only a few fighters would occasionally come here to train. However, the number of fighters that come to the continent of Australia is way too few. For the continent of Australia, which is several million square kilometers in size, fighters haven't even entered most of the places in the continent of Australia in just a few decades. This fog isle is one of them. Humans have never discovered its secret before. And now Luo Feng has discovered it. That Li Yao doesn't have many of the abilities of a spirit reader. He can't fly, so his drilling speed is too slow. On this fog isle, it's hard to say if he can survive. When he encounters danger, I'll hit him while he's down. Luo Feng didn't mind that his methods were cruel. In this underground rock layer, Luo Feng was very relaxed. Suddenly he took out a cell phone from his backpack. There are benefits to having an expensive cell phone. Even underground, the signal is so good. Luo Feng smiled as he made the call. Hello, bro. Luo Hua's surprised voice rang. How are you doing in the continent of Australia? Before, Luo Feng used his cell phone to call his family and told them that he would be in the continent of Australia in August, so he wouldn't call them often. How is it? Luo Feng looked at the rocks around him and the continuously dripping water. He slightly smiled. Great, the place I'm at right now is very safe. There's even water. In a dark underground cave, Luo Feng was smiling as he chatted with his brother. As long as it's safe. Oh yeah bro, about the continent of Australia, I've been researching the continent of Australia on the internet. The internet says that the continent of Australia is one of the 3 most dangerous places in the world. There are countless powerful monsters. I even saw some videos about the continent of Australia. The monsters in the videos are all very powerful. Luo Feng laughed as he heard his brother's words. Don't worry, I can kill those monsters like chopping vegetables. When he was hunting in the wilderness, his parents and brother were already very worried. Now that he's in the continent of Australia, Luo Feng didn't want his family to worry too much, so he made himself sound more serious. Of course. In fact, those monsters were indeed a piece of cake for him. Luo Hua, how's your relationship with your girlfriend? Asked Luo Feng. Not bad. His brother's voice carried a bit of helplessness. I just can't see Nan. Don't worry, bear with it, comforted Luo Feng. His brother knew. I understand, Nan is actually under more pressure than me. Luo Hua and Xiao Nan were lovers. After experiencing Luo Hua jumping into the lake, the two of them cherished each other even more. However, one thing is for sure. Zhen Nan's parents forbade Luo Hua and Zhen Nan from being together. In their eyes, they definitely wouldn't allow their daughter to marry a wheelchair-bound disabled person. However, Nan has to work the hardest. On one side she has to deal with her parents. On the other side she has to coax Luo Hua. She's afraid that Luo Hua won't be able to get over it. Luo Hua spoke Luo Feng. His brother's voice was a bit low. Clearly, Nan's situation is a sore spot for him. At the end of this year I can get an elixir of life, said Luo Feng. Far away in Jiangnan headquarter city, Yangzhou city's Mingyue sector, Luo Hua. At this time, Luo Hua, who was sitting in his wheelchair, was talking to his brother on the phone in his room. What? Luo Hua froze. At the end of this year I can bring an elixir of life back. When that time comes you can stand up. Luo Hua froze. Can stand up? Stand up? I can stand up? Luo Hua sat in the wheelchair, trembling uncontrollably. His face was flushed red and he said excitedly, Brother, are you saying that it will happen this year? Didn't you say that the water of life was only auctioned occasionally and that it couldn't be bought with money? Are you confident now? LuoFeng's voice carried from the phone. Luo Hua, the elixir of life isn't as rare as you think. Luo Hua was stunned. The reason why the elixir of life is so rare right now is just a trick played by the American government. Don't worry, I can definitely get my hands on this elixir of life. LuoFeng's voice was filled with confidence. Leave it to me. A trick played by the American government? Luo Hua was confused. Marika? That was one of the 5 most powerful countries in the world, one of the superpowers alongside China, Russia, and so on. The methods that the government of such a powerful country played sounded so frivolous and casual in his brother's words, as if he was full of confidence. You can tell Xiao Nan. LuoFeng's voice resounded. Tell her, you'll soon have legs and walk like a normal person. Brother, didn't you say to keep it a secret? Luo Hua was shocked. LuoFeng once said. Once the elixir of life and that huge sum of money are revealed, LuoFeng's life may be in danger. There's no need to keep it a secret anymore, said Luo Feng. Now that Li Yao is leading his people to kill him in the continent of Australia, what's there to keep secret? And once he tells Zhen Nan about his brother, then Zhen Nan won't feel too much pressure. And Luo Feng is worried about one thing. Zhen Nan will change her mind. Maybe because her brother jumped into the lake, Zhen Nan will be moved and stay by his side no matter what. But this feeling won't last long. Once too much time passes, the pressure from their parents will be too great and Zhen Nan might change her mind. Of course, this is only one possibility. But Luo Feng doesn't want this to happen. With his understanding of his brother, Luo Hua probably won't be able to take another blow. So, he might as well let Zhen Nan know that his brother can stand up. That way, Zhen Nan won't change her mind. Nowadays in China, many girls who live in low-rent housing want to marry a rich man and marry a man who has his own house. So the best way for a man to protect his girl is to earn enough money. That way, his girlfriend won't be tempted by money because her boyfriend already has money. One theory. Let Zhen Nan know that Luo Hua's future is limitless, so of course she won't change her mind. Luo Hua, tell Xiao Nan that you will hold hands with her and walk to her parents together, encouraged Luo Feng. The call ended. Luo Hua sat in front of his laptop for a while before starting a video call with Xiao Nan. Xiao Nan, Xiao Nan. Luo Hua sat in front of his computer and a video chat window appeared on his screen. On the video was Xiao Nan's profile picture. Since it's already August and it's summer vacation, Xiao Nan spent most of her time at home, so she naturally had a lot of opportunities to chat with Luo Hua. What's the matter, why are you so excited? Zhen Nan smiled sweetly. Xiao Nan, my brother said. I'll be able to stand up by the end of this year, said Luo Hua excitedly. What? Zhen Nan froze. I said I'll be able to stand up by the end of this year like a normal person. I'll be able to walk like a normal person and I'll be able to go to the park with you, go shopping with you and eat at restaurants, said Luo Hua excitedly. His eyes couldn't help but to tear up. Really? Zhen Nan couldn't believe it. Yes. Luo Hua said, my brother has even met the world's most powerful man Hong, and chatted with him. There are some special treasures in the world. Zhen Nan originally didn't dare to believe it. After all, it was impossible for current technology to regrow broken legs. But she knew. Her boyfriend's brother was a magical person. Now she heard that her boyfriend's brother had actually met the world's most powerful man Hong. Maybe he really had some heavenly means. When the time comes, I'll hold your hand and walk in front of your parents, said Luo Hua. Yes, yes, Zhen Nan nodded as tears flowed down her face. God knows how much pressure she had been under these days. When Luo Hua jumped into the lake, the news of her and Luo Hua's relationship had already spread in the surrounding area. There were already people gossiping behind their backs. Although Zhen Nan's heart was firm, it was still uncomfortable to be gossiped about. Finally, in the future she could stand up straight. Luo Hua sat quietly in front of his laptop. The chat with his girlfriend had already ended. My fate has actually changed just like that. Luo Hua could still hear the faint sound of car horns coming from outside. This was a headquarters city, a bustling and extremely safe headquarters city. And his brother was in one of the 3 most dangerous places, the continent of Australia. The 2 brothers were in 2 different places as if they were in 2 different worlds. And his brother was already at the top of this world. When he spoke, he directly mentioned the American government and talked about money in the billions. Brother. Thank you, said Luo Hua to himself. One of the 3 most dangerous places on Earth, the continent of Australia. This was an extremely mysterious place in the continent of Australia. Misty Island. In a cave in the underground rock stratum of the Misty Island. The cave was incomparably dark. Only LuoFeng's tactical communications watch's screen emitted a bit of light. This weak green light was even more inconspicuous in the dark cave. One could barely make out a blurry silhouette sitting cross-legged. Luo Feng was currently training his genetic energy. After who knows how long. In the dark cave, Luo Feng opened his eyes. My arm is much better. Luo Feng waved his left arm. His fractured left arm was mostly healed now. I wonder if that Li Yao died in the lake or if he came to the Misty Island. As he looked at his tactical communications watch, it was already 3 p.m. Let's go up and take a look. I can't just stay here forever. With a thought from Luo Feng, the 3 flowing lights immediately revolved around each other. Like a sharp awl, they directly pierced through the rock stratum. Luo Feng clasped his hands above his head. His hands were right behind the 3 flowing lights, and he immediately rushed upwards. As of now, Luo Feng's skin is much tougher than diamond. His body barely reached the beginner-level Wargod level. Even an armor-piercing bullet from a sniper rifle can't break his skin. Luo Feng's clasped hands are much more powerful than a steel awl. And with the 3 throwing knives leading the way, it's even easier. Straight up. Of course, Luo Feng purposely took a slightly different path than the one he took when he first went underground. Luo Feng didn't want to be attacked by the Willow Tree King as soon as he showed his head. Edge. A painful sound carried from the surface of the ground. Sound transmission through the earth is good, and Wargod hearing is even more amazing. Is that a human's voice? Luo Feng's eyes flashed. There's someone else on this misty island? Li Yao. The first thing Luo Feng thought of was Li Yao. Whoosh. Luo Feng still didn't dare to go too fast. The closer he got to the surface, the slower he became. At the same time, his spiritual force has already spread out to a range of 80 meters. After that, Luo Feng silently showed his head and happened to be in a bush. Luo Feng immediately saw Li Yao, who was dressed in black, in the distance. Right now, Li Yao's face was pale and there was blood on the corner of his mouth. However, his eyes were shockingly bright. Pu. Li Yao spat out 2 mouthfuls of fresh blood as he stared at the 9 thick willow trees in the distance. Seeing this, Luo Feng couldn't help but to think to himself, looks like this Li Yao has seen the peculiarities of these willow trees and suffered from them. It's me, Vanina. Li Yao was looking at his tactical communications watch as he excitedly said. Yao, what's up? Asked Vanina. We're rich. I'm currently on an island with endless wealth and treasures. I've already found over 12 spirits of nature. Li Yao couldn't hold back his excitement. What did you say? Vanina's voice changed. That's right, it's the floral spirit. Li Yao hastily said. Oh God, you said you found 12 floral spirits? Are you kidding me? Vanina, who was far away in the Paris Bay City, was so excited that she couldn't control herself. She knew very well what this essence of nature was, and she also knew how shocking its value was. It was definitely more tempting than gold on the ground. Luo Feng, who was hiding far away and only slightly poking his head out of the ground, slightly frowned. What is a spirit of nature? He had never heard of it before. Vanina, this misty island is very strange. There are no monsters here, but there are spirits of nature. Earlier, I discovered 3 nature spirits that looked like weeds, and I almost suffered a great loss. And just now, I found 9 willow tree type spirits of vegetation. Just like that, I found 12 of them. I believe that there are definitely more than 12 spirits of vegetation on the entire misty island. There might be even more. Li Yao continued, once we take these spirits of vegetation away, we'll be rich. Just 1 essence of nature was enough to scare people to death. Don't talk about price. Talking about price is insulting them. Such a treasure. No faction would be willing to sell it. This is especially true for willow-type vegetation spirits. The famous 1,000-year willow heart, back on Earth, is the core of a willow's vegetation spirit. Li Yao hastily said, as far as I know, the willow tree back then was only 1 meter thick, but there are 9 of them here. The thinnest one has a diameter of 1 meter, and the thickest one has a diameter of more than 3 meters. Willow trees. Even ordinary willow trees were very thick. However, a willow tree that had transformed into a vegetation spirit was different from an ordinary willow tree. These vegetation spirits already had a spirit, and had a simple consciousness of attack and self-defense. The more powerful a plant spirit was, the more precious it was. If I was 1 step slower, I would have died under the hands of the biggest vegetation spirit. Luckily, I had the Black God Set's transformation ability. Li Yao hastily said, the 1,000-year-old willow heart, after taking it, can greatly increase the activity of human cells and increase the recovery speed of the body by many times. Secondly, the quality of your body will also improve. And that was only a 1,000-year willow heart. I reckon, the one before us with a diameter of more than 3 meters should be called a 10,000-year willow heart. This willow tree king alone is a priceless treasure. I've been an advanced level Wargod for a long time. If I use the 10,000-year Willow Heart with its miraculous effects, it's very likely that I'll break through and become an existence surpassing the Wargod level. Li Yao was extremely excited. However, I'm not this Willow Tree King's opponent. In order to obtain the Willow Tree Heart, one had to chop down the Willow Tree. This kind of spiritual Willow Tree would definitely resist. Li Yao had already felt threatened during the short exchange just now. 9 Willow-type vegetation spirits, more than 3 meters in diameter? Vanina was completely dumbfounded. This cake is too big for us. Li Yao solemnly said, moreover, I feel that this misty island is very mysterious. To be able to give birth to 9 Willow-type vegetation spirits in one place, it's too inconceivable. There must be other spirits of nature on this misty island, even stronger than this Willow Tree King. Vanina, who was at the Paris Bay City, also understood that this cake was indeed too big. The couple couldn't swallow it. Vanina, inform your family about this and ask them to send some experts over. Li Yao instructed, it's best if it's an expert with a black god set, or a powerful spirit reader. The weakest must be a normal advanced level Wargod. As for the others, they don't have the qualifications to interfere at all. Vulture and Scorpion's reputation was too bad. Other than a few brothers who had risked life and death with them in the past, they didn't have many friends. Instead they had many enemies. Therefore, encountering such an incredible treasure island with so many plant spirits, they simply couldn't swallow it all themselves. He could only rely on the Paulinus family. As one of the core families of the HR Alliance, the Paulinus family already had a few powerful Wargods that they supported and had a good relationship with. The Paulinus family was obviously much more powerful than the Vulture-Scorpion couple. I understand, but Yao, I will take the credit for this, Vanina said. No problem, it's useless even if I want the credit. Don't tell me the Paulinus family is willing to let me become the head of the family? Vulture Li Yao sneered. As an outsider, there's no way he can get into the Paulinus family and gain power, so the credit is useless. Oh yeah, Vanina exclaimed, then LuoFeng won't recognize the spirit of nature? And notify the Dojo of Limits? He won't. Vulture Li Yao sneered, that LuoFeng came to this misty island a long time ago. If he can recognize the spirit of nature and notify the Dojo of Limits, the Dojo of Limits probably arrived a long time ago. What's more, how many spirits of nature have appeared in the history of Earth? Most of them have been taken over by Hong Thunder or the 5 great countries. Very few people know about the spirit of nature. Only a few experienced Wargods know about it. Normal fighters don't even know about it. How old is Luo Feng? He's been training so hard, how would he know about these bits of information? After Vulture Li Yao hung up, Luo Feng, who was a few hundred meters away, silently sank back into the ground. Li Yao, I didn't know before. But, you told me yourself. Luo Feng returned to the pitch-black cave in the underground rock layer. With the light from his tactical communications watch and his amazing vision, Luo Feng could clearly see everything around him. 1,000-year Willow Heart? 2 effects. One increases cell activity, and the other greatly increases body fitness level. Luo Feng was shocked. Just this bit of information was enough to shock him. Even a portion of dragon blood can increase body fitness level. Comparing the effects of the 1,000-year Willow Heart to the dragon blood, it's hard to say which is stronger. Greatly increases cell activity? This alone is enough to make people go crazy. The so-called cell activity is actually a type of body recovery ability. For example, among monsters like the Emperor-level monster Earth Dragon King, even if someone cuts off a part of its body, it will still grow back at a speed visible to the naked eye until another part grows out. This is cell activity. For people with high cell activity, if their organs are heavily injured and they vomit blood, their organs will recover in half a minute. For example, if their arm bones are broken, they will recover in a short amount of time. The higher the cell activity, the faster the recovery. Sure enough, the 1,000-year Willow Heart is special. According to what Li Yao said, that Willow Tree King is more likely to have a 10,000-year Willow Heart. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at his tactical communications watch. Through his tactical communications watch, he quickly entered the fighter discussion boards of the Home of Limits. Luo Feng wanted to enter the Warlord discussion boards to search for information. HM? The Wargod discussion boards, why is they lit up? I can enter the Wargod discussion boards now? These few months of training in the elite training camp, Luo Feng didn't know that ever since his Black Dragon ranking entered the top 50, the Dojo of Limits automatically increased his authority and allowed him to enter the Wargod forums. For example, the 3 chiefs of the Dojo of Limits in headquarter cities can also enter the Wargod discussion boards. Some people aren't Wargods, but they have the authority to enter the Wargod discussion boards. Luo Feng is one of them. I can definitely search for more information in the Wargod discussion boards. After Luo Feng entered, he swiftly typed in the word Spirit of Nature, and searched for posts. Beep. On the screen of the Tactical Communications Watch, a list of posts quickly appeared. There were a total of 28 posts, all of which were about the Spirit of Nature. Even though very few people know about the Spirit of Nature, you can still find some information about it in the Wargod discussion boards. The origin of the Spirit of Nature doesn't seem to be the same. Luo Feng finished browsing through the 28 posts. Some people say the Spirit of Nature is created through a special mutation. Some people say that the Spirit of Nature evolved after absorbing the special energy of the universe. And some people say that there were some spirits of nature in the ancient times. However, after industrialization the destruction to nature was too great, so the spirits of nature disappeared. And now, after the grand nirvana period, monsters are everywhere, but the natural environment is much better. The sky is also blue and white and spirits of nature are born. Of course, the opinions aren't the same. However, one thing is for sure. After a plant transforms, it will become a spirit of nature. As long as you don't get close, you won't be a threat. And every spirit of nature contains the essence of the world, so they all have special effects. Luo Feng looked at the introduction of the spirits of nature in the posts. 1,000-year willow heart, green grass dew, steel armor spirit orb. However, almost all of these treasures are taken by the 5 great countries, the 2 dojos and the HR alliance. Not many Wargod fighters have them. According to what's written, the 1,000-year willow heart is even more effective than a portion of dragon blood in raising my body fitness level. And it can greatly increase my cell's activity. Luo Feng sighed to himself. If a portion of dragon blood can be sold for 80 billion, then what about the 1,000-year willow heart? No wonder the 5 great countries and the 2 dojos are fighting for it. And now, there are spirits of nature on the Misty Island and it seems like there are a lot of them. Holy. Paris headquarters city, in a spacious hall with a pointed roof. The floor was made of black marble, and there was a golden conference table that was around 10 meters long. There were a total of 5 black chairs with complicated engravings. And right now there were 5 old men sitting on these 5 chairs. 4 old men and 1 old woman. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed throughout the hall, like the sound of spring water. These 5 people all turned their heads towards the entrance. They're here. The silver-haired white old man sitting on the main seat smiled as he said. A mysterious person covered in a black robe walked forward step by step. Behind him was a burly barbaric man with a shield on his back and a huge sword in one hand. The other person was an extremely skinny man with a pale face. He had 2 short blades on his waist. Once these 3 people entered the hall, the entire hall seemed to become a bit gloomy. The eyes of the black-robed man in the lead were as deep as the ocean. Immediately, the 5 old men stood up from their seats and welcomed these 3 powerful fighters. Catalan, my child, this time I'll need your help. The silver-haired old man who held the most power in the Paulinus family smiled and said. The leading black-cloaked man slightly bowed. Uncle, after receiving your message, I immediately brought my 2 good friends here. The first thing I did was to bring my 2 good friends here. The one next to me is the world-famous blood shadow, Ivan. As he spoke, the lean man next to him bowed slightly as a form of greeting. As for this one, he is also my good friend Giant Bear Kata, said the black-cloaked man. The barbarian man slightly bowed. Sorry to trouble you too, the silver-haired old man smiled and said, Catalan, do you need anyone else? The family? Everyone else is just going to die. The black-cloaked man interrupted the Paulinus family head and said with a bit of dissatisfaction. Humph, even Vulture Li Yao didn't have the ability to get spirits of nature on that misty island. You can imagine how dangerous this trip will be. The Wargods that the family raises and the Wargods that the family itself has aren't qualified. This sentence was arrogant enough. It was purely looking down on the other Wargods in the family. But the one who said this was Illusion Demon Catalan. Out of all the Wargod fighters on Earth, Illusion Demon Catalan is definitely one of the big shots. Even the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo tried everything they could to get Illusion Demon Catalan to join them. But Catalan was a member of the Paulinus family, so naturally he couldn't join. But one thing was undeniable, the Paulinus family's position in the HR alliance was largely due to Illusion Demon Catalan. Uncle, this matter can't be delayed. It's already been 12 minutes since I received your message, said the black-cloaked man. I'll immediately head to the continent of Australia. Okay, I'll be in Paris and wait for your good news, Catalan, said the silver-haired old man. The other 4 old men also smiled. Whoosh. Catalan was the first to turn around and walk out. The other 2 super experts also followed by his side. If it wasn't for his relationship with Catalan, it would be extremely difficult for Paulinus to invite Giant Bear Kata and Blood Shadow, Ivan. Watching Catalan and the others leave, the 5 elders remained silent for a long time. Patriarch, Catalan only brought 2 of his brothers with him. In this way we don't even know how many essence of nature they obtained from the Misty Island. At that time, Catalan would probably embezzle a lot for himself. We're only giving a portion of it to the clan, a bald elder couldn't help but say. The silver-haired old man's gaze was faint as he said indifferently, Greed? Cartland is the most outstanding child of the Paulinus family. The stronger he is, the stronger our Paulinus family is. If he wanted to be the clan leader, he could have been the clan leader 3 years ago. Remember, don't be on guard against Catran. Being on guard will hurt the pride of an expert, the silver-haired old man said slowly. The other elders were silent. In just a moment, a completely black, disc-shaped fighter quickly rose into the sky and left the Paris-based city. It turned into a streak of black light and quickly disappeared into the horizon. One of the 3 most dangerous places in the world, the mysterious foggy island of Australia. In a cave deep underground in the rock stratum. It's about time. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at his tactical communications watch. Around an hour and 30 minutes have passed since Li Yao contacted Vanina. 90 minutes. Li Yao, I gave you a full 90 minutes. That's enough. It's time to notify the Dojo of Limits. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked through his tactical communications watch. He opened a number that he used to contact the Dojo of Limits. He uses this number to receive his rewards. If there's anything important, he also uses this number. Right. He needs to notify the Dojo of Limits. Actually, when he heard Li Yao's call, he was ambitious and wanted to take all of these treasures for himself. However, after reading those posts underground, LuoFeng understood one thing. Even if he can get his hands on them, he doesn't have the strength to take them. An advanced level Wargod definitely doesn't have the ability to take such an unbelievable amount of essence of nature. If he's too greedy, the consequences will be dire. Also, he's not even a match for Vulture Li Yao in a head-on battle. Once Vulture Li Yao finds even more powerful helpers, his chances will be even lower. Not only will he not have the ability to take the treasures, but he might even die under the attacks of so many powerful fighters. So after thinking about it, there's only one best method. Notify the Dojo of Limits. The Dojo of Limits, that's one of the most powerful organizations in the world. Once they make a move, they'll definitely be able to get their hands on the treasures on this Misty Island. And the Dojo of Limits is very particular about the rules. Since he discovered the Misty Island and spread the news, the Dojo of Limits will definitely give him some. Otherwise, how can the Dojo of Limits convince the masses? Even though he has to notify the Dojo of Limits, when to notify them is another matter entirely. If LuoFeng notifies the Dojo of Limits right away, the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits is in Hongning headquarter city in Western Asia, so they might arrive before the Paulinus family. That way, the HR Alliance won't be able to get any scraps, and they probably won't dare to compete with the Dojo of Limits. That way, Li Yao will definitely leave in fear, and LuoFeng won't be able to get someone else to do his dirty work. That's the best method. He told the Paulinus family's people to arrive first and start working hard to harvest the spirits of nature on this Misty Island. Keep in mind that spirits of nature aren't easy to harvest. Even LuoFeng and Vulture Li Yao lost to the Willow Tree King, so one can only imagine how difficult it is to harvest spirits of nature. The Paulinus family's people worked hard to kill the spirits of nature. Harvest. Halfway. When the Dojo of Limits' people arrive, the Dojo of Limits will definitely make the Paulinus family cough up something. 90 minutes? Isn't 90 minutes too short for them? LuoFeng looked at the number on his tactical communications watch. I hope the Dojo of Limits' people don't arrive before the European people arrive. To be cautious, LuoFeng waited for another 30 minutes. Since the entire Misty Island is covered in thick fog, it'll be extremely troublesome to search. If I want to search the entire Misty Island, even a day won't be enough. LuoFeng lightly pressed a button on his tactical communications watch. Make a call. 2 hours after Li Yao made the call, LuoFeng also made a call. Beep beep. Hello, a low voice carried over. Hello, I'm LuoFeng from the elite training camp, said LuoFeng. What's up? The low voice was monotonous. LuoFeng reported. It's like this, I discovered a large amount of spirits of nature on a mysterious island in the continent of Australia. Over 12 spirits of nature have been discovered on this island, and there's a willow-type spirit of nature that's over 3 meters in diameter. Spirits of nature? The low voice was slightly surprised, then said, very good, you found such a treasure land. According to my Dojo of Limits internal distribution rules, anyone who finds a treasure land and sends back information, once it's confirmed, will receive 10% of what the dojo takes. Those who go to battle and excavate will receive a total of 30%. The remaining 60% will go to the Dojo of Limits. Please tell me the coordinates of the Misty Island, continued the low voice. After LuoFeng replied to a few messages, he quickly hung up the phone. Who would have thought that the Dojo of Limits treasures have already become a rule? 10% to the people who discovered it? 30% to the excavators? The rest to the Dojo of Limits? LuoFeng nodded to himself. 10% is enough. Just 10% of those 9 willow-type spirits of nature is enough for me to get a 1,000-year willow heart. I might even have some left over. 1 hour later. LuoFeng quietly popped his head out from a bush. Where's Li Yao? Right now it was already nighttime and there was a thick fog. Even though the fog was a lot thinner around the 9 willow spirits of nature, LuoFeng could only barely see around 200 meters away. Li Yao's figure wasn't within this range. I'll just wait, they'll definitely come to this area. LuoFeng stuck half his head out of the grass and looked towards the 9 willow trees in the distance. He quietly waited. His spiritual force spread out a full 100-meter radius and stayed alert. After a while, rumble. A sonic boom rang in the sky. LuoFeng fiercely turned his head towards the sky. And at this time, a disc-shaped fighter jet was in the air above the Misty Island. It stopped floating in midair and the hatch of the disc directly opened. The black-robed man Catalan, the barbaric brute Kada, and the skinny man Ethan jumped down from midair and swiftly descended. The Paulinus family has arrived. LuoFeng let out a smile. When the Paulinus family arrived at the Misty Island, a purplish-red triangular fighter jet was flying at an unbelievable speed in the night sky, leaving behind a trail of air currents. Inside the triangular fighter jet, there were a total of 2 people in the fighter jet, both passengers. There were 2 people sitting in the cabin. One of them was very handsome. Even though he was wearing a combat uniform, he gave off an elegant feeling. Looking at his face, he seemed to be in his 30s, but his eyes were quiet and deep, as vast as the sea. There was always a smile on his face and he seemed to be very relaxed. He is one of the 5 investigators of the Dojo of Limits, Investigator Lu. The dojo master actually sent you here this time. It seems like he really values this island. Inspector Lu looked at the person beside him. That's right. The mysterious person beside him was also wearing a battle uniform. except that he wore a golden mask on his face. Investigator Lu, if you harvest all the spirits of nature on the island, you can get 30% of the total amount. The golden masked man's voice was low. I don't care about these things. The golden masked man said in a low voice, I don't care about these things. If it isn't necessary, I won't make a move. And once I do, you and I will split this 30% equally. After Investigator Lu heard that, he couldn't help but to be overjoyed. The other side didn't do anything and would rather give him the entire 30%. That's too stupid. Those are all spirits of nature. They're treasures that even Hong cares about. Ah, don't worry, I don't believe that there's anything I can't handle on that island, smiled Investigator Lu. He, in existence surpassing the Wargod level. After following Hong for so long, he has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. In the entire world, there are very few places that can make him lose. The blood-red fighter jet carried the two powerful fighters towards the continent of Australia at an astonishing speed. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.